Most riders think long life comes down to the engine. Better brand, better engineering, maybe luck. Sounds right, but it's wrong. I've seen identical Japanese bikes leave the showroom together. One struggles before 100,000 miles. The other passes 300,000 without drama. Same machine, different outcome. The difference is habits. Motorcycles run hotter, rev higher, and tolerate less neglect than cars. Small mistakes don't stay small. They build quietly until the damage is done. Most riders believe they're doing it right. They're not, because the first mistake almost everyone makes is hiding in plain sight, and it starts with oil. Oil is the single most important factor in whether your engine keeps running or slowly destroys itself from the inside. And on a motorcycle, it matters far more than most riders think, because your engine isn't cruising at low speed like a car. It lives high in the rev range. More heat, more friction, more stress packed into every mile. That oil is doing 3 jobs at once: lubricating, cooling, and carrying away contamination. And this is where riders get misled. Modern oil lasts longer. That might work in a car. On a high-revving Japanese bike, it's a gamble. Oil doesn't warn you when it breaks down. It just stops protecting. Inside the engine, surfaces that should glide begin making contact. Heat builds faster, contaminants settle instead of circulating. What starts as microscopic wear turns into scoring, then real damage. And it happens faster than you think. I've seen engines that looked fine on the outside but were already wearing themselves out inside, all because the owner trusted extended intervals. And if this is the kind of knowledge you wish someone told you before your first major repair bill, hit the like button, drop a hype in the comments, and subscribe. Because that's exactly what keeps us committed to bringing real-world lessons. Most riders only learn the hard way. The riders who push past 200,000 miles don't play that game. They change oil early, every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Sometimes sooner if they ride hard, sit in traffic, or deal with heat. Not because the oil can't last longer on paper, but because the engine can't afford the risk. Skip this habit and you're not saving money. You're delaying a failure you won't be able to undo, because once the engine starts wearing from the inside, there's no easy fix. But the engine isn't the only place where neglect builds up quietly. There's another system on your bike that's fully exposed, constantly under stress, and far less forgiving, and most riders underestimate it completely. And that leads directly to the second critical habit: chain maintenance. The chain is one of the most exposed and most ignored parts on any motorcycle. And unlike the engine, it doesn't wear out quietly in the background. When it fails, it happens all at once. This system lives out in the open. Every mile, it's taking hits from dust, grit, water, and road debris. That contamination works its way into the links, grinding away at the metal, stretching the chain, and wearing down the sprockets. And most riders barely think about it. They skip cleaning, they forget lubrication, they run the wrong tension, either loose enough to slap or tight enough to strain the entire drivetrain. It feels minor until it isn't, because the damage builds step by step. A dry chain creates friction. Friction creates heat. Heat accelerates wear. The links stretch unevenly, the sprockets start hooking, and power delivery loses its smooth feel. Maybe you notice a slight jerk or a faint vibration. That's already the warning. Ignore it, and the risk escalates fast. At speed, a worn chain can snap without warning, and when it does, it's not just a breakdown. That chain can lock the rear wheel, whip into the frame, or instantly cut power when you least expect it. No recovery, no second chance. Riders who get serious miles out of their bikes don't treat this as optional. They clean it, they lubricate it, they check tension every few hundred miles, especially after rain or rough roads. Not because they're obsessive, but because this system doesn't forgive neglect. You're not just maintaining performance, you're protecting control. But if you think that's where the real danger peaks, you're missing something even more critical, because there's a system on your bike designed to save your life, and it quietly degrades without any warning at all. And naturally, that takes us to the third system riders trust blindly: the brakes. But before diving into the safety of brake system, let me ask you this. How many of you actually stay consistent with chain maintenance? And how often do you check it? Be honest and drop your experience in the comments, because this is one of those routines riders think they're doing it right, until it proves otherwise. The brake system is the one thing every rider trusts without thinking. You squeeze the lever and you expect the bike to slow down immediately, every time. But this is also one of the most quietly neglected systems on a motorcycle, Because brake fluid does not stay stable forever. It absorbs moisture from the air, slowly and invisibly, even in a sealed system. As that moisture builds, the fluid loses its ability to handle heat. At first, nothing feels wrong. The lever still firms up, the bike still stops. No warning lights, no obvious signs. That is what makes it dangerous. The problem shows up under pressure, long downhill runs, repeated braking, or a sudden emergency. You grab the lever expecting full stopping power, and instead it feels soft, weak, delayed. That is brake fade. The fluid begins to boil, creating tiny air pockets inside the lines. Unlike fluid, air compresses. So instead of transferring force to the calipers, your input gets absorbed. You pull harder, and the system gives you less. And by the time you notice it, there is no time left to correct it. A simple fluid flush every 2 years prevents this completely. Ignoring it turns a reliable system into a gamble, because brakes do not warn you when they are about to fail. They wait until the exact moment you need them most. When brakes fail, the situation turns critical instantly. But even when they're working perfectly, there's something else determining whether you stay upright or lose control completely. Because stopping power means nothing if the only thing connecting you to the road isn't doing its job. And as you might expect, that brings us to the next factor, riders. Overlook the tires. Tires are the only thing connecting your motorcycle to the road. Every bit of speed, braking force, and balance depends on 2 small contact patches holding steady. And yet, this is one of the most overlooked areas on any bike, because tire issues rarely feel urgent in the beginning. A few pounds low, and the bike feels sluggish to lean. A little high, and it starts to feel harsh, less planted. Most riders brush it off and keep going, but those small changes are already reducing grip and stability. And over time, that neglect adds up. Wrong pressure distorts how the tire sits on the road. The contact patch shrinks or shifts, wear becomes uneven, and traction drops where you need it most. Cornering, braking, and quick corrections. You might not notice it on a calm ride. You will notice it when things get unpredictable. A sudden stop, a tight corner, a wet patch you did not see coming. That is when the tire either holds or lets go. And in more extreme cases, the risk climbs fast. Underinflated tires build heat, increasing the chance of failure at highway speed. Overinflated ones sacrifice grip, making slides more likely when you brake hard. Same result, loss of control. Checking pressure once a week, adjusting for load, and watching wear patterns is not extra effort. It is basic survival. Because when your tires aren't right, nothing else on the bike can compensate. And while tires define how your bike interacts with the road, there's another layer most riders overlook entirely, one that works behind the scenes, silently affecting performance and longevity. And that's where the 5th mistake begins: fluids. When it comes to fluids, most riders think close enough is good enough. If the label looks right, the weight matches, and it pours the same, it should work. That assumption is where long-term damage quietly begins, because motorcycles are far less forgiving than cars when it comes to fluid choice. On most Japanese bikes, the engine, clutch, and transmission all share the same oil. That means one fluid has to handle combustion heat, gear pressure, and clutch friction at the same time. 3 completely different jobs, one system. And not every oil is built for that. Automotive oils or generic blends might seem fine at first. The bike runs, shifts, and rides like normal. No warning signs, nothing obvious. But underneath, things are changing. Without the right additives for a wet clutch, the friction plates begin to lose their bite. Power transfer becomes inconsistent. You roll on the throttle, and the response feels slightly off, like something is slipping, but not enough to raise concern. At the same time, the transmission is taking a hit. Motorcycle gearboxes rely on oil that can handle extreme pressure without breaking down. The wrong fluid shears faster, thinning out under load. Protection fades, and metal surfaces start working harder against each other. Shifts become notchy, then rough, then expensive, and it all happens gradually. That is what makes this mistake so common. You can run the wrong oil for thousands of miles and never realize the damage until performance drops or a repair bill shows up. By then, it is not a fluid problem anymore. It is a wear problem. This is why manufacturer-specified oil matters. Not because the brand says so, but because it is designed for how that engine, clutch, and gearbox actually operate together. Saving a few dollars on oil is one of the most expensive shortcuts a rider can take, because in a machine this precise, small compromises don't stay small. But even if every fluid is correct, every system maintained, there's still one factor that overrides everything else, something far more personal and far more consistent. It's what you do every single time you ride. And that's exactly where the sixth lesson begins: how your riding behavior shapes the life of your bike. The moment you start your motorcycle is when the most engine wear actually happens. And most riders get this wrong every single day. Because at startup, your engine isn't protected yet. The oil is still sitting low in the engine. It's thick, slow to move, and hasn't reached critical areas like the camshaft, valves, and cylinder walls. At the same time, the system runs a richer fuel mixture, which can strip away what little lubrication is already there. So internally, this is the most vulnerable moment your engine will ever face. And what do most riders do? They fire it up and immediately rev it, or they take off hard like everything is already at operating temperature. The bike responds, nothing feels wrong, so it becomes a habit. But that moment of impatience is where wear begins. Metal surfaces make contact before oil fully circulates. It's microscopic at first. You won't hear it, you won't feel it, but repeat that over hundreds, then thousands of starts, and it adds up to real damage. Then there's the opposite mistake. Some riders let the bike sit in idle for long stretches, thinking they're protecting it. They're not. Excessive idling slows the warm-up process and can lead to incomplete combustion and carbon buildup. The right approach is simple, but it takes discipline. Start the engine. Let it idle for about 30 to 60 seconds. Then ride off gently. Keep the revs low, avoid sudden throttle, and let the engine warm up under light load. It's a small habit repeated every ride. And it's either extending your engine's life or quietly shortening it. And so far we've covered oil discipline, chain responsibility, braking safety, and tire control. So tell me in the comments, which one of these habits surprised you the most? And while you're there, like the video and subscribe to the channel, because we're about to step deeper into the habits that separate maintained bikes from neglected ones. How you start and ride your bike shapes what happens inside the engine, and most of that damage builds quietly over time. But internal wear is only part of the story, because unlike cars, motorcycles live fully exposed to the environment. And that exposure introduces a completely different kind of threat riders rarely think about. And that environmental reality is exactly what leads us to the next maintenance point: the air filter. Your engine doesn't just run on fuel, it runs on air. And on a motorcycle, that air comes from one of the harshest environments you can ride through. Unlike a car, your bike isn't sealed off. Every mile pulls in dust, grit, moisture, and debris straight from the road. City traffic, highway miles, even a slightly dirty shoulder, it all ends up in the intake. And the only thing standing between that contamination and your engine is the air filter. It's simple, cheap, easy to forget, but it's working every second the engine is running. Over time, it clogs. At first, you won't notice much. The bike still runs. Maybe throttle response feels a little softer. Maybe it's not as smooth as it used to be, subtle enough to ignore. That's how it gets overlooked, because what's really happening is restricted airflow. The engine isn't getting the clean, steady AR it needs. Combustion becomes less efficient. Power drops off. The engine works harder to deliver the same performance, building extra heat and stress over time. And then it gets worse. A worn or overloaded filter can start letting fine particles slip through. Dust and grit entering the engine is like sandpaper on internal components. You won't see it happening, but where it accelerates where it matters most. All from something as basic as airflow. Riders who get serious mileage don't wait for symptoms. They inspect the filter regularly and replace it before it becomes a problem. Not for performance, but for protection, because this exposure isn't occasional, it's constant. The air your engine breathes determines how efficiently it runs, and once that flow is restricted, performance and longevity both start slipping. But not every problem on a motorcycle comes from mechanical wear, because there's an entire system most riders don't think about until it suddenly fails without warning. And that unpredictability is exactly why the next focus matters: the electrical system. Electrical problems are some of the most frustrating issues you can face on a motorcycle, because when they show up, they feel random. One day the bike fires up instantly, the next nothing. No clear warning, no obvious buildup, just silence when you hit the starter, or worse, a sudden failure out on the road. But here's what most riders miss. Electrical issues don't start suddenly. They build quietly, and it usually begins with the battery. Motorcycle batteries are small and sensitive. They don't handle neglect well. Short rides, long storage, or inconsistent use slowly drain them. Over time, they lose the ability to hold a proper charge. At first, it's subtle. The engine cranks a little slower. The start feels weaker, easy to ignore. Until one day, it doesn't start at all. But the battery is only part of it. Your charging system, stator and regulator, has to keep everything balanced while you ride. If that system slips, the battery never fully recovers, and the entire electrical setup becomes unstable. Lights begin to dim, sensors act unpredictably, ignition can cut out, and when that happens on the road, you're not limping home. You're done. Riders who push for serious mileage don't wait for failure. They check battery health, keep terminals clean, avoid unnecessary drain, and make sure the charging system is doing its job. Small habits, big difference. Because when the electrical system goes, the bike doesn't partially fail. It shuts down completely. But here's the difference between electrical issues and everything else on your bike. Most mechanical problems give you warnings long before they get expensive. The problem is, most riders never catch them. And recognizing those clues is exactly what brings us to the next habit: routine inspections. Most major motorcycle failures don't come out of nowhere. They give you signs early. The problem is, most riders never look long enough to catch them. Routine inspection is one of the simplest habits and one of the most ignored. Not because it's difficult, but because the bike still runs, so everything must be fine. That's the trap, because small problems always show up first. A faint oil spot under the engine, a bolt that's backed off slightly, a cable starting to fray, a tiny crack or slow seep. None of it stops the ride, so it gets pushed aside. Until it doesn't. That small leak turns into low fluid. That loose fastener creates vibration that spreads damage. That worn part fails when you least expect it. What could have been a quick fix becomes a breakdown, or worse, something that happens at speed. Riders who keep their bikes for the long haul don't wait for symptoms to get obvious. They stay aware. Before a ride, or at least once a week, they take a few minutes and look things over. Nothing complicated, just checking for anything that wasn't there before, because familiarity is what makes the difference. When you know your bike, you notice change immediately, and that's what stops problems from growing. High mileage riders aren't lucky. They're paying attention. They catch issues early when they're still small, still manageable, still inexpensive to fix. Because once a problem grows, your options shrink fast. But this is where most riders fall short. Even when they see something, they wait, they delay. They tell themselves it can wait one more ride. That hesitation is what turns minor issues into major failures. Because noticing the problem isn't enough. Acting on it immediately, that's what keeps the bike alive. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. Fixing problems before they fix you. But before we get into that final principle, ask yourself, are you actually applying these habits or just knowing them? And if you're getting value out of this, hit that like button. And if you want to go even deeper with us, becoming a member gives you early access to every new lesson we release. Most expensive motorcycle repairs don't start big. They start small and get ignored. A faint oil seep, an unusual sound, a bolt that doesn't feel quite right, nothing urgent. The bike still runs, so it gets pushed off. I'll deal with it later. That's where the damage really begins. Because nothing on a motorcycle stays the same. Problems don't hold steady. They move forward. That small leak turns into low oil. Low oil raises heat. Heat accelerates wear. Keep riding like that, and you're no longer fixing a leak. You're dealing with internal engine damage. It happens everywhere. Ignore a worn chain, and it takes out the sprockets. Overlook a weak battery, and it strains the charging system. Put off a brake issue, and now you're risking stopping power when you actually need it. It's never just one problem. It's a chain reaction. And the longer you wait, the more it costs, not just in money, but in reliability and control. This is where discipline matters more than knowledge. Most riders already know when something feels off. They just choose to wait. They look for a convenient time. They hope it holds a little longer. That's the mistake. Riders who push their bikes to extreme mileage follow a different rule. If something shows up, it gets handled immediately. Not next month. Not after a few more rides. That week. Because small problems are easy to fix. Big ones aren't. And once you start operating this way, everything shifts. Maintenance stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like control. Because in the end, it's not one major decision that gets a motorcycle to 500,000 miles. It's a series of small decisions made at the right time. And when you step back, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Which brings us to the only conclusion that matters: what it really takes to make a bike last. A motorcycle that reaches 500,000 miles is not rare. It is maintained that way. It is never just the machine, it is the habits behind it. Consistency decides everything. Every choice either adds life or takes it away. Maintain it and it keeps going. Ignore it and it slowly falls apart. That is the difference. If this video made you rethink how you maintain your motorcycle, don't stop here, because this is only part of the bigger picture. The next video goes deeper into the habits and mistakes that most riders don't catch until it's already costing them. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of those problems. And if you want early access to everything we release, becoming a member puts you one step ahead of the average rider. Hit like if this helped, and I'll see you in the next ride.